We show up on Sundays and we believe all the right things. But who are we between Sundays? In the everyday moments when no one is watching, these are stories about us as Christians and the gap between who we say we are and who we actually are. Stories that might make you uncomfortable, might make you think, and might change how you see yourself. Welcome to Between Sundays. This is the algorithm. Marcus had always considered himself digitally savvy, the kind of person who understood how to navigate the noise of social media with discernment. Every morning followed the same rhythm: coffee brewing, phone in hand. The Bible app's verse of the day glanced at, with genuine intention to absorb it later. And then the inevitable slide into his feeds, he told himself. He was staying informed, connected to his community, aware of what mattered. The truth was more complicated, though he wouldn't have admitted it then. His scrolling had developed a pattern over the years. An internal algorithm more sophisticated than anything Silicon Valley could program. When his cousin Jennifer posted about her GoFundMe for her daughter's surgery, his thumb kept moving. Jennifer was always posting about something: her kids, her struggles, her needs. Everyone had struggles. Everyone needed money. If he stopped for every plea, he'd never get through his morning. Besides, she had family, a church, other people closer to the situation. His thoughts moved faster than his thumb, justifying each swipe with practiced efficiency. Later that same morning, Brian from his small group posted something vulnerable about depression. About feeling like he was drowning, even though his life looked fine on the outside. Marcus paused for half a second, felt a twinge of something. Concern, maybe, or recognition, but the post made him uncomfortable. Brian was always a bit intense, a bit much. There was a fine line between authenticity and attention-seeking, and Marcus had learned to trust his instincts about which was which. He kept scrolling. Someone would reach out to Brian. Someone always did. The post about the single mom from church needing help moving got the same treatment. Marcus had helped people move before, had thrown out his back once doing exactly that kind of thing. And besides, wasn't Saturday his only day to rest? The thought of spending it hauling boxes up 3 flights of stairs for someone he barely knew felt like too much to ask. He noticed the post had been up for 2 days, with only 3 comments. Surely someone with a truck and a free schedule would step up. But when Marcus encountered a political post that rubbed him the wrong way, his thumb stopped cold. He read it twice, felt his blood pressure rise, and before he could think better of it, he was typing. His response was measured but firm, laying out exactly why the original post was wrong. Citing sources, building an argument that felt righteous and necessary. This mattered. This was the kind of engagement that made social media worthwhile. Challenging bad ideas, standing up for truth, making people think. He posted the comment with satisfaction, watched for responses, felt a small thrill when someone liked his reply. Throughout the day, Marcus repeated this pattern without realizing it. A viral video that made him laugh got shared. A thread about theology that showcased his knowledge got multiple replies. A friend's achievement that reflected well on their shared community got a celebratory comment. But the posts that required something of him, the ones that asked for time, money, emotional labor, the awkwardness of showing up, those dissolved into the endless scroll like they'd never existed. That evening, after a particularly frustrating day at work, where he'd felt overlooked and undervalued, Marcus did something uncharacteristic. He posted honestly, not the curated version of his life, not the spiritual insights or the humble brags, but the truth. He was struggling. His marriage felt more like a business partnership than a romance. He was questioning whether he'd chosen the right career. Some days he wondered if his faith was real or just a comfortable identity he'd never examined. He typed it out in his notes app first, edited it down to something less raw, but still vulnerable, and hit post before he could talk himself out of it. Then he waited. He refreshed his feed once, twice. He opened other apps and came back. He told himself. He wasn't checking for responses, but of course he was. An hour passed. 3 likes. One from someone he hadn't talked to in 5 years. One from a bot account he should have blocked. One from his mom. No comments. He refreshed again. Nothing. By bedtime, the post had drifted down his feed. Buried under dinner photos and news articles and memes. 7 likes total and 0 comments. The silence was deafening. Marcus lay in bed that night, phone glowing in the dark, scrolling through his feed with a strange new awareness. He saw posts from 3 days ago, a week ago, people sharing their hearts and getting nothing back. He saw the cousin's fundraiser again, still $4,000 short of the goal. He saw Brian's post about depression, now 5 days old, with a handful of generic praying for you comments that probably took 5 seconds to type. He saw the single mom's moving request, updated with never mind. Figured it out, and an emoji that tried to look cheerful but didn't quite succeed. The pattern he'd been living became suddenly, painfully visible. He had turned himself into an algorithm, sorting through humanity with ruthless efficiency, stopping only for what entertained him, what made him feel smart, what required nothing of him but an opinion. He'd been curating his compassion, scrolling past the posts that reflected Christ's actual command to love people in tangible, inconvenient, uncomfortable ways, while stopping to argue with strangers about doctrine and politics. He'd been so digitally present and so practically absent that the moment he needed presence himself, there was no one there. He'd trained his community to treat him exactly as he'd been treating them. A memory surfaced unwelcome. His pastor 3 months ago, preaching on the Good Samaritan, asking the congregation to consider who they had been scrolling past on their road to wherever they thought they were going. Marcus had nodded along, certain the message was for someone else, someone less aware, less engaged. He'd even posted about the sermon afterward, something about the importance of seeing people, complete with a relevant hashtag. He'd gotten 32 likes on that one. Marcus opened his notes app and looked at the post he'd written, the vulnerable admission that had disappeared into the void. He felt the sting of being ignored, of pouring out something real and having it treated as just more content to scroll past. For the first time, he understood what he'd been doing to others. The realization sat heavy in his chest, somewhere between conviction and shame. His thumb hovered over his cousin's fundraiser. He could donate now, share it, send a message. He could text Brian, actually call him, meet him for coffee. He could message the single mom and apologize for missing her post, offer to help with whatever she needed next time. He could do all these things, become the person who stopped scrolling and started seeing. The impulse was genuine, born from real conviction in this moment of clarity. But it was late now, and he was tired, and the phone was already making his eyes hurt. Tomorrow, he thought, he'd do better tomorrow. He'd be more intentional, more present, more like Christ in the way he engaged with people's actual needs instead of just their interesting content. He closed the app with every good intention, and as he drifted towards sleep, he almost believed himself. The phone sat on his nightstand, already queued up with tomorrow's feed, the algorithm learning and adapting, ready to show him exactly what he'd trained it to show him. Everything, except the neighbor he was supposed to love as himself. In the morning, his routine would begin again. Coffee, the verse of the day, the scroll. And somewhere in that feed would be more posts he wasn't ready to stop for. More neighbors he'd pass by on his road to wherever he thought he was going. More opportunities to be the algorithm or to be human. The choice would be his, as it had always been, waiting in every swipe and every scroll and every second. He decided what deserved his attention and what deserved his heart. But perhaps that's where the story doesn't have to end, not for Marcus. And not for any of us who see ourselves in his illuminated screen at midnight. Jesus never said, "Love your neighbor as yourself," with an asterisk. He didn't qualify it with, "unless you're tired," "unless someone else could handle it," "unless their problems make you uncomfortable." The command was simple, absolute, and terrifyingly practical. The neighbor was whoever was in front of you. Digital or physical, convenient or costly. We've become remarkably skilled at modern Pharisaism, at looking spiritually engaged while remaining practically absent. We share verses about love and scroll past the desperate. We argue theology with strangers while ignoring the struggling friend. We've mistaken having opinions about Christianity for actually practicing it, confusing our ability to articulate faith with our willingness to live it in ways that cost us something. The uncomfortable truth is that our attention has become our most honest prayer. Not the words we say in church, but where we actually stop, what we actually see, who we actually choose to love when no one is watching. Our scrolling patterns are the unedited manuscripts of our real values. The places where our theology meets our reality, and we discover which one we actually believe. The truth about algorithms, both digital and human, is that they learn. Every time we choose comfort over compassion, we're training ourselves, building neural pathways of selective empathy, becoming people who can see suffering and feel nothing, because we've practiced feeling nothing so many times before. But the reverse is also true. Every time we stop and actually see someone, every time we show up when it's inconvenient, we're becoming people who look a little more like Jesus. Not because we have the right theology, but because we've practiced loving people until it became who we are. So maybe the question isn't what Marcus will do tomorrow morning. Maybe the question is what you'll do. When you encounter the need that asks for your time, your money, your uncomfortable presence, will you scroll or will you stop? When someone is vulnerable and it costs you nothing to respond, will you let the silence stretch, or will you be the person who shows up? We're all writing our own stories, one scroll at a time, one choice at a time. We're all deciding whether we'll be algorithms, efficient, selective, curated, or whether we'll be human, messy, and present, and actually available to the people God keeps placing in our paths. We're all deciding whether love your neighbor as yourself is a nice idea we appreciate or a costly command we actually obey. The phone will always be there tomorrow morning. The feed will always refresh. The choice will always be waiting. The only question is whether we'll finally stop scrolling long enough to become the people we keep saying we want to be. The algorithm is always learning. What are you teaching yours?